everyone. Forgot I pushed, I forgot I pushed live on my Facebook one and YouTube. So it's just going there, and I'm like, oh, I pushed live. It's going for about a minute. But to my understanding, sorry about that, I had to turn the camera off. To my understanding, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to keep it on for a minute or two before you go on, and then come on. All of these little protocols about live streaming. And I know I live stream more than I do like recording and then uploading it. I think cuz I don't like editing. It's like, here I am, take it as it is. Love me or leave me, whatever. So, welcome everybody to the Guru Mama Coffee Corner Show. That's what I'm going to call it. It's a show bringing you the 411 of the shenanigans, as above, so below, and the cray cray of the world around us. And yeah, another day in paradise. Every day you're just like, okay, all right, yesterday was okay. Everything's a go, everything's fine. And we can do this, right? We can get through this. And yeah, so next thing you know, you hear, oh, there's an earthquake. And sending out blessings over to Taiwan. It was like a 7.6 or 7.9 earthquake. And weirdly enough, how people have dreams and then you're just like, oh, that was just a weird dream. I dreamt the earthquake, but I didn't know it was in Taiwan. So I was in it was a room, an older room. And I remember that the walls were like a teak paneling kind of thing. And then everything started to shake in the room. And I'm like, oh, I look around, and then this man appeared and he goes, go stand in the doorway. So, and then I'm like, oh, okay, that's so weird, so random. So, and then, just hearing about this, but I do get sort of weird feelings before there is an earthquake or something along that line. I don't know about any of you, if that's what you get. Hello, everybody on Instagram. Because sometimes you just sort of wonder why you're feeling off, or you feel kind of shaky or spinny or dizzy or something. And then there's some big world event that happens, right? And that's how just to show you how connected we are, even though this might be on the other side of the world and thousands and thousands of miles away, but that effect or that frequency or energy of it, you're feeling it. You're feeling the vibrational twinges. That's what I'm going to call them, the little twinges, these little kind of like sparks that are coming out, and that you just sort of like, yeah, something's going on, something's a little bit cray cray. Or you get an anxiety feeling. That's what I'm going to call it, like an anxiety. But you're like, why am I feeling this way? There's nothing really overly crazy in my life. It still feels the same way. Everything still is going in its same patterned way. And all of a sudden something happens, but you just know from that feeling that you get, something's up. And it's I think many of us are a little bit more heightened in the last few years than we ever were before. So a few things that are going on besides that. We have I guess protesters outside of Calgary that are protesting the tax. Now, here's I don't know. Do protests work? Like I people are protesting all over the world. Like there's constant protesting. And I think getting your voice out there and really is important. I believe it is an important fact. Yet it's showing the ones in charge, yeah, we're angry, we're upset, this is what we want done. And I feel like it's one form of creating the change that we want to create. The other way of creating change too is coming together as a community, to come as a collaborative front in order to present something, in order to make the change, in order to be that voice of the people or whatever it is that you are wanting to come together with. So whether that's a committee or a new political power or some kind of I'm gonna use the word committee just to keep myself so I don't get bumped off here. That's what needed. And then the next, another way is, is through education, understanding how things are done, understanding how how our political system works, how our politicians work, how do they get elected? What's that whole election process going? And I know most of us fell asleep during that class. Most of us like, oh my God, drool coming out of our mouth. And we found it so boring. Yet, I think that's maybe what they're hoping for is that you find it boring and so you don't pay attention. But then the final thing, between the protesting and trying to, form a committee, get together, go into the meetings and stuff, and participating, writing your MLA. The next way of people making the change is by force, by having by getting to a point that you are so frustrated, so overwhelmed that it feels well, that it leaves you no option, right? And that you, come together through force. Now, I think that's the very last option that we should look at, but I feel it's one of the options that unfortunately has been put on the table. The protesting, it's not gonna how it's not gonna do anything. That's how I'm feeling. When I look into it and I look into the energies of it and I look into the feeling of it, the protests are not going to do anything on some level. But I feel like the protests that are happening now are not really I just it's just the feeling I'm getting, that energy that's coming in with it. I don't feel like it's going to have a full force on it. And that's what the people are hoping. It's not gonna have and the impact, the thing is that in what they're doing is the impact that's coming in, for a lot of it, it's too late. It's too late. Where doors were open, like, a couple years ago for people to really wake up and make the change and do the fight and stand up, but they didn't. They didn't. And here it is that now, "Oh, well, now I'm gonna stand up, now I'm gonna do it." But now we have such a and the word narcissistic, gaslighter in power that with bringing in the coalition of his counterpart, Turban Boy, it's it just is at a point where that option that I don't want on the table is on the table. It's where it's going to be pushed. Now, they know, like, there's a knowing even within that side, I'm gonna call them the baddies. We're gonna call them the baddies. That's what we're gonna call them, the baddies. The baddies know that they're pushing to a point where people are going to come back. That's why you see those military RCMP, SWAT team dudes out there with automatic rifles. Like these guys are just carrying it like it's like that. I saw that one girl and I'm like, you're just ready to just mow them down. Like one false move. That's what I just looking at her. And they're all wearing dark glasses, so you can't look at their eyes. That's the other thing. It's like that's an intimidation thing. Can't see me. I don't have any identity. So when you can't see my eyes, it's like, oh, well, there's no identity there, right? But I can still see you, but you can't see the souls to me, right? So there's that intimidation factor that's coming in. And I feel like it's going to take where people are going to get pushed, and especially when you are unable to provide. And The one part, and especially with all the energy coming in, and we got the moon in Aquarius, and with the sun in Aries, and with a solar eclipse that's coming in, with the North Node, with Chiron, pushing towards Mercury, who is retrograde, and the conjunction of Uranus and Jupiter, that explosion is going to happen in a way that they're not expecting. Eruptions, because it's going to come where, and I feel like it's not going to be within this, this month is such a pivotal, transformational, energetic month. Like, this is a month that is really going to, I'm going to say, get the gold star of being fucked up. Of being the catapult, being the catalyst, right? And even if they are RCMP, um, being that, that gold star, getting the gold star, right? That it's true when you start being able not to buy a loaf of bread. This is basic. Buy a loaf of bread for your kids. Um, okay, I can't buy a loaf of bread. Well, I'm going to make it. Oh my God, I can't afford the flour. I can't afford the yeast. So how am I going to make the bread? Right? Because people say, "Oh, you can't afford it. Well, go make it." Right? And well, like, okay. So it's when things that you are just normal bread, butter, eggs, milk, if you remember, I'm gonna, this little cartoon where this little boy, or I think it was a little boy, skipping to the store. Remember what his mother was sending him to the store to buy, and he made a little rhyme out of it. And anyways, just dated myself. People are probably, what the fuck is she talking about? Uh, but in that, where you get to a point, and like yesterday, Steve came to, well, he told me this morning, um of this one guy, and he comes there every day, drops off his kids. I didn't see him this morning, but he just said, he goes, "I'm having a hell of a time." Like, he owns his own company, and when he doesn't work, it's really difficult, right? And so he's been really finding it hard. It's, he does snow removal and some other things too. He's kind of like a jack of all trades, kind of guy. And he was just saying that it was very, things were so tight that, um uh, to have food, he has 3 little girls, just adorable little things, um, that he didn't have enough for food. And he goes, even what they got from the food bank, he goes, and he says that's the first time he ever had to use it. Um, he goes, I thought, we'd get enough or something, especially for the kids for school. But he goes, it was basically hardly anything. And I was just sort of like, wow, that's kind of crazy. So Steve and I are going to put a basket together for him and bring that to him after school, so of whatever extra we have in our freezer, and then give that to him, so that he can have something for his family. But when you start hearing, stories like that, really start to like, okay, the shit's just sort of hitting the fan. It's just starting. It's just like these little clumps are just starting, right? Um, yeah, but that's meaningless, even though you have a good credit and high credit card limits, um, the way the economy going, and I'm just listening to guys like I allegedly, Neil McCoy, and many others who are economists are saying doesn't matter if you have a good credit score or nothing, that's meaningless in what's coming in. Doesn't matter. And even if you have a high credit card limit, it's coming to a point where all of a sudden your high credit card limit, they're going to call, and like, you'll go there and it's gone. It's gone. You thought you had a $10,000 limit. Now they dropped it down to 1,000 for whatever reason. For whatever reason, you know. But that's the other thing too. It's like, even if you're putting, if you think about it, I'm not I'm not trying to pick you out or anything. I think it's great that you're able to do that. But if you think of that you start putting everything on credit and it keeps on rising, then the interest rate keeps on rising, but your income is still here. How much more, how much further can you go? And that's where people are coming to. That's where people are getting to. It's like, yeah, I had a great income. I'm making it. I'm paying the bills. I'm doing this. Then all of a sudden, that loaf of bread that you buy, usually say it's like $2, now it's $5. The jug of milk that was like a couple years ago was only $4 is now $8. So do you buy not as big jug? This is how things are starting to come, right? Just how it is for me. Yeah, exactly. I'm just giving you, just giving you as an example, not pulling you out, just sending you love there. But this is where, when you have the protesters and you have everybody out there doing their thing and trying to make a difference, that the next option is on the table, unfortunately. And that has to do with all, as above, so below, and all the rumblings that are coming in and the frustrations that a majority of people have. And it's, you hear of some that is like, well, now I only have $200 left over the month. A couple years ago, I used to have $1,000, you know. So this is where people are starting to feel the crunch. Now, if you're not feeling it yet, God bless you. But I'm gonna throw the wrench in it, and I'm gonna say, if you're not feeling it now, that's absolutely awesome. But I can tell you, within a year, you're gonna feel it, and it's gonna be worse than what you thought, because things aren't going to change until more people feel the crunch. And when more people start feeling the crunch, that they can't go to the grocery store, that they can't buy the basics, that's when people start to revolt. That's when the energy and the tensions start to really get going. And we're going to start witnessing more of that and more of that. And this is, again, this is where, as I've been saying for so long, with communities coming together, really working together, things along that line make a huge difference. This is where, when certain people that they can give you a helping hand, when somebody who grows potatoes and they have 50 acres of potatoes, that they can give you 100 pounds of potatoes, and then you got something there. This is where, those connections are very important. That's why you go to farmers markets. That's why you go to the locals and you start to communicate with them. And you tell people, for him to come and tell Steve that, I think it was something of an embarrassment, but I think he kind of he trusts Steve to tell him that. And he doesn't know our situation. I mean, my car, somebody tried to break into my car again. I don't know why the fuck I'm driving a fucked up little Nissan. It looks okay. It's not what I'm used to driving, just let's say. But anyways, and the door handle of the past, I can still open the door, but the silver part it fell off, right? Because they're trying, any time they try, they can't get in. I don't know. My good little old car there. But anyways, I mean, we're not driving any fancy car or anything like that. So I just feel like there was a trust that he could trust Steve to tell him. So that's just sort of one story that we are hearing out of so many. It is very fortunate that we are able to help our kids out in different ways, especially food wise, and help them out whenever we can. And we always make sure that we get a little bit extra so we can spread it out amongst the children, and that my kids are working. Well, 2 out of the 3 are working. Eddie's still going to school, but that they're working, right? But this is the vibration that's coming in. This is the frequency that's coming in. People are going to start getting extremely frustrated and overwhelmed. And with that frustration and overwhelmness, things are just going to get, I feel like, a little bit crazier. But we can't live in fear. That's the thing. We just can't live in fear. So this is a vibration that's coming in. The Looking at the chart today, it was I don't know, I'm going to say it was freaky. Um I'm going to share the chart with you guys and just show you what. Now, when I look at this, you got everything that is above right now, but just looking at some of the, the moon is squaring over to Mercury. I'm gonna turn you guys around. So we got, the moon and Pluto are squaring over. So that square with Mercury, and especially if the squares it's coming into with Pluto here too. This is Again, this is going to cause some kind of disruption. This is a frequency sign. This is Aquarius. So there's something to do with the frequency, with the community, with humanity, the connections with the group that, miscommunications can happen. And then of course you're in Aries, so things can get really fired off and get really kind of feisty during that time. And the sun is coming up to the north node. So the sun is like wanting to be exalted, but there's some accountability. So when the north node is there in Aries, there's accountability and how you are going forward, what does that look like and what does that feel like. And this is the point too where Mercury is going to retrograde back to, is that 15 degrees. So that 15 degrees is a very, it's midpoint with the energies. It's a place where you are wanting to be exalted, are wanting to um get some kind of forward motion in there, but things might be feeling off because you're not really getting the full communication that you want. And then we have, with Saturn coming over, of course Saturn and has to make its little quincunx, I guess, over to to um Uranus over here. And this is where it's like, okay, are we seeing all the full effects? But we still have all of this Piscean energy. All of this energy in Pisces is really kind of getting us off sorts, not getting us to where we really want to go. And Venus is, snuzzled up to Neptune. She wants to feel good. She wants the good stuff. But this is where you can get really lost in your illusions and your values of the direction of where you really want to go to. So today is like, it's not a day to get into fear. It's not a day to get, you know, to fall in. And if you are in any kind of, um, like AA or anything like that, this isn't a time to don't fall off the wagon today, because it could take you down a really crazy rabbit hole. So it's a time of a spirituality, of truth, and really acting upon that, acting upon some peace within your life, even though we are witnessing a lot of energies and frequencies that are not in that, are trying to get into that frequency, yet are not. We're hearing more about, the Middle East and the craziness that's happening there, to what's going on over in around Russia and Ukraine and other parts of the world. So we're seeing this volatile energy, and it's a buildup. And here's Venus snuggling up to Neptune. She just wants to like zone out and go in a different direction. She's like, I just, I just want to be exalted here. I just want to feel good. But that pressure, of, just even from day to day pressures that are coming in for so many people, are getting to a place where, you can't think straight. You're trying to get things motivated. You're trying to move ahead in a specific manner, but you feel muddled and a little bit all over the place, right? So the frustrations and arise. So with all of this, with the protesters and everything that are on the outside of town, God bless them. I really hope the best for them. Is it going to take the carbon tax away? No, it's not going to take the carbon tax away, because as I say, the person that's put it in there along with a little Mr. Turban Boy, they're just so there's that feeling inside me, it's just so gross. It's narcissistic. It's where there's such darkness that's there. It's horrific. When you look into some of these people that are in charge. Now's the time to align your own life. Definitely. And from money to who you have, and from money to who you have in your life. Um, yeah, that's why, it's the community, it's that centeredness, it's that connection, having that connection, not being afraid to even ask for the help. Like the guy from the school, just telling Steve, he's not really asking for help, but just letting him know that, yeah, times are really hard. We're having a difficult time right now. So letting people know, because if people don't know, they can't help, right? And that's all part of the community, and that's all part of what's going on out there, things you're watching and absorbing too. Yeah. Having a total understanding of what's going on. I watch a lot of um, economic dudes and stuff to understand that, because I really want to understand how the money works. Gold has gone up tremendously. Gold is continually going up. Um, Silver went up as well. So, I mean, if you're going to be doing, I'm not an investment person, but if you're going to do that, um, definitely look into buying gold coins, silver coins, and if you look into different stocks and stuff, if you can. I mean, it's good that gold is going up, but it's not good that gold's going up, because anytime that gold rises, wars on the forefront of, when gold is down. And gold is, I remember when gold was like $25 an ounce. Like, it was cheap. Like, you didn't think anything of it. uh but when it starts to rise, that's when, and especially when it's like over like 23 or $2,400 an ounce now. That war is not too far away. It's on the horizon there. And that's just one of those. I know. I know some of you. That's unfortunately. I don't know, I hate to say that's the way the world works, but unfortunately, that's the way the world works. Finding the new frequencies and working with them, absolutely, definitely. But there is that, and this is how I see it, or this is what they show me. It's like, even though you are making the new frequencies, whatever is going on in that outside world that you don't want to pay attention to will infiltrate and will have effect on you in some manner, in some way, whether it's, you wanting to buy the flour to bake your bread, to putting gas in your car, to how you heat your home, or anything else along the way as well. So the effects will come in some way. So, and that's part of the awakening too. So, as I say, it's the way to change. Unfortunately, that option of a revolution is on the table. And it's not on the table for the next 10 years. It's on the table not only within the next few months, but within the next year or less. I got less that's going to come forward. So that's why it's so important to have the community, the connections, and everything else. So, what else is going on? What other craziness is happening within the world around us? Let me see. Let me just check. I did get a from my Universal Life Church. I signed up to become a pastor. It's online, and they are a ministry that covers all facets, including paganism and hand fasting and stuff like that. One of the things I found very interesting is that, there we go, got it up. Well, of course, I would find this interesting. Maybe other people wouldn't, because I have a thing about cemeteries. But Muslim cemeteries face protests and vandalism and threats across the country, which I think is horrific. Anytime anybody wants to do any vandalism or anything on any grave, it's just like, no, it's wrong. you know, you don't you don't do that to a gravesite. But protesters to vandalize lawsuits, Muslim leaders run into all sorts of obstacles when trying to legally build Muslim cemeteries across the country. And some have likened to an anti-mosque fever that erupted. So there is an anti-Muslim movement that's happening nationwide, worldwide, which is unfortunate as well. But when you can't bury your dead, when you find a place to bury your dead. I mean, the Muslims have a special place to bury their dead. The Jews have a special place to bury their dead. You have a Chinese cemetery in some places, and same with, sometimes you have a special spot. Of course, the Catholics have their own spot, all the time. But, and then, people have a special mausoleum and stuff like that to bury the people that have passed away. And it's just part of their custom, part of their tradition. And I feel it's an important part because people have to understand what death is and the transition of death. Death is something, when we have funerals, when we, uh, do things to celebrate or to celebrate the life of somebody, it's something that is important, not only for the living, but also for the person who's passed away, to see that transition. Once they transition, they really don't care about the funeral. Most of the time, they don't really care about the funeral. Um, but they do, you know, they do still care about their loved ones and those that are here, and they just want to make sure that they're all okay, just like you want to make sure they're okay. And I feel like I just got like, what are we going to have a bunch of Muslim ghosts walking around who haven't had a proper burial? Or the other part too is, when somebody dies, it's, you know, many people there's a fear. Some people have a real big fear because they're not sure of what's on the other side of that transitioning. If you have certain rites and rituals that you do in the preparation of your death. So for instance, for the Catholics, they get the last rites, and for a lot of Catholics, if you don't have the last rites, your thought, your belief system through that is that you will go to purgatory, and spend all eternity in purgatory because you didn't get the last rites. You weren't able to confess your sins and the whole bit and get the blessing of the priest. Um, there's that belief system. So that's the same way. If you are unable to bury your dead in a special way, that person who's dying, that's a traumatic. That's traumatic. That plays a lot on the soul and even how they transition and the difficulties that they may have in transitioning over to the other side, because there's a fear that goes along with it. There's still, even though somebody has moved from the body, sometimes there's still an ego attachment, which is of this world, but that ego attachment, which could bring them to still be tethered to this world, right? I'd be more worried about what you did while living. Well, yes, I know, but I'm just saying in the ritual of the death, right? Because a lot of people believe that they will be burning in hell, or that they're not going to receive whatever it is in heaven, right? For some Muslims to receive their, I don't know, their 50,000 virgins or whatever, bestial virgins or whatever their belief is. I don't know, and I'm not going to claim to understand or know, but there is, that sense of fear. And I think that's what's happening, for a lot, um, especially when it comes to the cemeteries and finding a place to bury the people. If you go to Tibet and in parts of Tibet, and as you're going up into Nepal and into the mountains, they bury their dead under their house so that their ancestors can still be with them. Some, I think it's in Nepal that every year they bring their dead out and dress them up. They're mummified, and so they bring grandpa and grandma at the table. So they're mummified, and you have these dead people around your table. So You know, others believe in the cremation. If you go to the Hindu re- um, religion, it is the first son that is sending off the parents, right, in their religion, or the eldest child. If they didn't have a son, it could be the eldest daughter that is sending that soul on, right? And it's an important ritual, right? And a lot of times, if people don't have that, even when they're alive, there is that sense of fear, that sense of tethering to still to this earth and not going back, you know, um, being into this world. So I feel like it's an important piece, they need it. They, to bury their dead, to bury how they need to bury them. As I said to my children, when I die, do not keep me in a fucking cupboard. I don't care what you do with my ashes, just don't put them in a cupboard. Don't put them in an urn. I always say I want to go out like on a Viking, on a Viking funeral, is that put my corpse out there in the middle of the lake and blow me up with a lot of fireworks. My daughter keeps on telling me it's illegal. Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Some spirits will not cross over. I've been to sites where I've had. It's funny. This one medium, and she was quite well known and popular, and she goes, "No, I can cross anybody over," and I'm like, "No, you can't. If you can cross anybody over, let's go to England." You know, because there's so many fucking ghosts in England that some of them just still haven't passed over, and they're still so connected to that loop, or to that vibration, or to the guy who's on top of the Palliser, who is still from 1929, who killed himself, and I still see him jumping in front of the train all the time. And sometimes, even though the train is closed off behind there, some guys, the engineers and stuff, like, it's just like they kind of feel like they think something fell in front of them, but they know it didn't. Some won't cross over, for whatever tether that they have to this world. Some will come in and make an appearance and then move on, let you know that they're there and move on. um but some just won't, and it's all depending on how their death was too. So it's understanding how they died, what was going on around their last days, minutes before they died. That's why in hospice, they really, death doulas are becoming quite a big thing. And having a death doula that helps the person, not only the person to transition, but helping the family to deal with the transition of that person, right? Right? He brings in the most negative spirits, and I think it's because he did horrible things to people. Yeah, more than likely. I'm gonna say, yeah, he did. I got like a yes to that one. And the thing, I got like, it's almost where a containment, or either containing to an area. This is your area, this is where you stay, and no harm to you, no harm to me, and I'm sending you off with such love and light, but I don't want any harm to me. Some of them don't want the love and light, so they'll repel it back to you. Especially, I've had ghosts that pass through me because they're angry, because I'm getting them out of the place, or getting them out of the house, and they go straight through you, and it's just like, oh, and you're so cold afterwards too. With that, it's very freaky to have that. But the thing, it's important, it is important for transitioning, and we're in a time where death is going to be more frequent in our life. We're going to be seeing more deaths than births in this next 2 decades. We're going to be witnessing the decline of our population, and so this is where it's having a real clear understanding of living your life fully, of living your, and being, having the connection, and having connection, being able to help people that need the help, and doing it out of the goodness of your heart, doing it out of, not out of like, haha, I'm going to get brownie points. Like, there's no brownie points. I don't see the divine or God, whoever you believe, with check marks behind your name, except for those who are Leos. I know you guys Because I got 2 Leos here. For those who have Leos, I know your check marks are all there, so don't worry about it. You guys will be exalted. Um, it's the disgusting part of what we do. Yeah. So this is you know, the death part is a huge one that is going to be witnessed, and it's going to be a hard one. So doing a lot, like, even because we have now been, for death rates and stuff, worse than the Black Plague, and it came out in quite a few different studies. So if you think about all of those who died in the Black Plague, and you go back to some of those areas, or if you even look at some of the places that were built in around those areas, you can sort of feel that death that's there. There's a playground, I think it's in London, and it's on the outskirts of London. What used to be on the outskirts of London, but when people were dying from the plague, that's where they buried them, and then they started seeping through the earth. It's kind of gross, and they built a playground on it. They don't get very many kids playing on the playground, by the way. It's just so freaky, and even when they were trying to um put in new soil and stuff like that, they always got a filmy oil, which that seeped through, and then they finally cemented it in. It's just disgusting. Some of the places when you go into London and stuff, there's just some real freaky places. And I think, when you walk through, or you're walking through some of the areas even here in throughout Canada, but you find that, especially if they're sacred ground, you can feel the sacred groundness. You can feel the energy or the vibration of the sacred ground, because they had so much respect for their elders. They had so much respect for those who have passed, because they knew, see, there again, it's part of their life. They understood the cycle of life. Like, yeah, let's honor those who've died, because we know that they go to the other side to guide us. Right? What a beautiful way. Calling on your ancestors, and asking them to guide you in some, or helping you in some capacity, is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I'm not going to I'm not going to dig up any of my dead ancestors and bring them for dinner. They could just come in as an energy. Not going to have any dead corpses at my um at my dinner party. But yeah, death, I think, is a we got on the contact. Of course, I brought up the Muslim cemetery. That's why. But but connecting with those that have passed away, I think, is important, and I think more people have to understand that, that death is a cycle, and it's another transformation that we go through, um, and we all have to face it sometime. And for me, I still say, when I go out, I don't want to be thrown into no oven and cremated. I want to go out and just be exploded and go out into the ethers. Or I think my kids, I think they're going to probably, what they're going to do is that they'll probably light the fireworks after everything else and say, we can do that, Mom, but we can't light you on with the fireworks. Crazy. Let's pull in a herb. Let's see what the herb is of today. What do we have? Yeah, it's on the next page. Oh, bay. It's a bay one. Bay, bay laurel, bay tree, laurel, laurier de laurier sauce, lorbeer, nobel laurel, Roman laurel, and sweet bay. Ooh, that's our herb today. So it's masculine. Its planet is fire. Its sun. Its planet is sun. The element is fire. Its deities. Oh, we get deities today. Is Suscapellus, Apollo, Ceres, Phanos, and Eros. Powers: protection, psychic powers, healing, purification, and strength. A ritual: the ancient priestess of Apollo chewed bay leaves to induce a purific state and also inhaled their fumes. Bay leaves are used as a decorative at Yule. Bay is used in clairvoyance and wisdom brews. Although it tastes is strong, bay leaves are placed beneath the pillow to induce prolific dreams and are also burned to cause visions. It is a protection purification herb. It is worn on amulets to ward off negativity and evil. You would see Roman soldiers used to have bay leaves. They used to have like a brooch with bay leaves and stuff for protection. It ward off negativity, evil, burned, scattered. We use it in exorcism rituals. Um, Placed in the windows to protect against lightning, hung up to prevent poltergeists from working any mischief in the house. Ooh, hey, Candace, get some bay leaves. Maybe that'll help too with that energy. A spring of bay is used to sprinkle water during purification ceremonies, and the tree planted near the home protects its inhabitants against sickness. Bay leaves mixed with sandalwood can be burned to remove curses and evil spells. To ensure that a love will stay, the couple should break off a twig from the tree and then break this into two and each keeping a half. Bay leaves give strength to those engaged in wrestling and athletic sports if worn at the time of competition. That's why you see bay leaves with the Olympics. It just dawned on me. You know, when you see the Olympics and they have the bay leaves and they wear the laurels, the bay laurels, the crown. There you go. Wishes are written on bay leaves, which are then burned to make them come true. A bay leaf held in the mouth wards off bad luck. Cool. So yeah, so bay leaves, powerful, powerful. Like I know, well, I use bay leaves a lot in different spells and stuff too. So bring in the bay leaves, man. I have a bay tree in the kitchen. How nice! That's beautiful. So yeah, so bring in the bay leaves. It's a little bit interesting. So what I'm doing is just taking the magical book of herbs and just picking and just opening up to a page every day, right? And then as I opened up to a page each day, it lets me know what the herb is. All right. This one wants to come in. Ooh, it's a star card. So it's a card after the tower. So it's a card about balance, about bringing that balance, of bringing the wishes of what it is that you're going through, the transitions that you're going through, and out comes the star. The star is like, let me wish upon a star. It's bringing that energy of, yeah, I'm going to bring a balance. And it has to do with the five senses as well. So you have the five senses of, how am I feeling? What am I seeing? What am I tasting? What am I smelling? Bringing those things in and around you to help you make the transition. And as you do, we got the Ace of Wands. So this is pretty nice with the energies that are coming in, because the energies are pretty wonky. So it's saying, keep balanced and you'll find that passion, that energy, that motivation to go forward, but don't get lost in the delusion of it all. Of course, you have the passion, you have the balance, but then you might have a lot of things that come upon your table and you might get caught off guard. So don't get caught in the crazy delusions of, the snake oil salesman wants to sell you. So there you go. So everyone, if you are wanting an astro moon reading, that's what I'm going to call them now, astro moon reading for the new moon solar eclipse, let me know. They're $40. And they're coming out on Sunday, so people will be receiving them in their inbox on Sunday. So have a fabulous day, everybody. And may the Lord and the Lady watch over and bless each and every one of you. And thank you for being here today and listening to the crazy babble of the day and the nuttiness of the world around us. Reach out if you know somebody who needs help, a helping hand. Sometimes it's just maybe you can just bring them a basket, leave it on there with a note and saying, this is just for you for today. Blessings. That's all. Because sometimes people are a little bit of embarrassed or they don't want to. But I think pride has to be set aside so we can form a stronger community. Okay, so have a great one, everybody, and we will talk to you soon. All right. I might do a live tonight at because I'm working tonight, so we might do a live tonight and see if we can pick up anything, any craziness that's happening at the recreational center. That'll be fun. There's never a dull moment there. At least ghostly wise. Have a great one, everyone. Bye bye.